Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Episode 5 of the SEO Domination podcast. And it is Friday the 13th.
It is.
I'm totally excited. My guest, John Shieldsmith, not only does he have a rad name, he's got a rad shirt. Show it to us. Let's do this. There it is.
The late counselor.
Fantastic. He's our resident neighborhood axe murderer, as it were, proverbially, in terms of content marketing. So I'm very excited to have you. Thank you for playing my silly little games.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're going to talk today about content marketing, specifically in the context of building links. Before I do that, it's tradition now on the SEO Domination podcast to ask you, why should I care what you have to say in a non-condescending way? So tell me about your background and your experience. How did you get into this?
I ask myself that every day. So actually, it's a funny story. I actually have like an educational background in creative writing and English. Just always liked writing. And then I kind of had like an awakening in elementary school. And, you know, when everyone figures out what they want to do, saw What Women Want, saw Mel Gibson's Job and was like, I want that job. I want to write copy for ads. Then I forgot about it for 20 years and went to college, did creative writing. And then I just kind of chanced into it. You know, I started freelancing straight out of college and just started doing what was essentially really bad content marketing back then. It's been several years. We've changed. And and ever since, I've spent the last several years doing content marketing, some email marketing, freelance blogging, some of which includes, you know, recently landing a client, a backlink from the one and only Neil Patel. So love him or hate him, pretty
Neil
awesome.
Patel, that's like having Jesus visit you personally in a marketing context. That's insane.
For sure. No, it was a nice surprise. You know, it's a great client of mine I have, not Neil Patel, but this mystery client. But yeah, it was a really, really great surprise and definitely nice to get those little affirmations that what you're doing actually works and matters.
It's one thing about marketing. We almost always have NDAs, so it's very difficult for us to go explain our exploits to people. It's like, well, I had this one client that I can't tell you about.
For sure.
These awesome things for that I can't mention.
Yeah, show me what you've written. Okay, well, it doesn't have your name on it. Well, none of what I write has my name on it, but you'll just have to believe me.
All right, well, label me a believer. The Neil Patel, you had me at Neil Patel. So explain content marketing to me in a nutshell, as if I didn't know what it is.
It's a great question. So content marketing is essentially any piece of content. It doesn't have to be written. That's my specialty, is written content. But it can be any other type of content that is essentially helping get customers paired with your business, or essentially with the right solution for their problem. Sometimes that's leading them through the funnel. Sometimes that's lead gen. Sometimes it's just informing customers and brand awareness. But yeah, it's basically fun marketing. Instead of your basic advertising, it's, you know, it's content with a purpose.
Oh, so you're trying to be helpful instead of just promotional, right?
Ideally, yes.
Right.
If you're doing it right.
So is there any specific distinction between general content marketing and content marketing for backlinks in particular, sort of where we're trying to focus on today?
I think to an extent, yes. I mean, I think the best content marketing, even if your goal isn't to get backlinks, I think that the best content marketing will still get backlinks. I mean, it's natural. You know, it's kind of like whatever your goal is with making a movie or something. If it's really good and people watch it, like, great. But I think with backlinks, you kind of have to think a little outside the box. You know, with your standard content marketing, you're thinking more about just pain points and brand awareness and that kind of thing. Whereas with backlinks, you kind of have to think like, how can I get other influencers or other brands or other voices involved with this? How can I create something that people want to link to, not something people want to just share on social media and say, look how funny this blog post is, but something that people say, look how helpful or great this is.
Sure. So you actually almost have to think you have to lead with empathy instead of just this rogue desire to create, you know, from a brand perspective, like what actually are people going to be able to use and engage with and incentivize them through the content to sort of go ahead and share that, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Like you should never have to just blatantly ask in your post, you know, hey, by the way, please link to this. You know, this isn't YouTube where you're like, if you like it, give me a like, a comment, and subscribe. You know, with content marketing, like if it's well done, it will, you know, it sells itself and people will want to link to it.
All right. So I guess let's jump in from the brand perspective then. Tell me, what are some of the most common mistakes you see brands making in terms of content marketing?
There's a lot. I think the biggest one, and it still blows my mind that I see this happening, but a lot of brands seem to misunderstand content marketing just from like an elementary standpoint. I think a lot of brands think content marketing is just a really long advertisement, which is essentially, when I first started freelancing, my very first client ever straight out of college had me doing bad content marketing, which, I didn't know better. I was an English major. And, I think a lot of them treat it like this long form ad. They're like, how can we write 500 to 1200 words on our product or on our service and then call that content marketing and share it? Like, oh, it's not an advertisement because it's on our blog. This makes it like kitschy and fun and different. And I think, really you need to have that consumer customer first approach. You can't be thinking of your brand and how can we promote our brand. You need to be thinking about like, what does this person need or what does this audience need? What are their pain points? And I think so many brands just miss that completely.
I remember how it was in the early days, man, because I was like one of the first people on the content marketing train, like back when WordPress was still sort of a fledgling platform. And I remember it used to be like, okay, I'm gonna improve my Google rankings. So I'm gonna write an article, how to be the best SEO agency ever. And the text would be like, if you want to be the best SEO agency, you need to learn how to write SEO articles for SEO people who like SEO. And you're like basically just stuffing all these keywords in there,
Oh yeah, and you're like, time for an alt tag, best SEO agency ever, 10 times over.
But it's evolved beyond that, hasn't it? Like the algorithmic science has come so far.
Totally.
I feel like people can almost discern your intent now. And if your intent is not to help people and produce genuinely useful content, probably the bots are going to be able to sniff that out. They're sophisticated enough to do that.
For sure. And even if the bots miss it, I think in general, we've got customers that are savvier. And I don't even want to say customers, just consumers and readers and viewers in general. I think they're savvier to all this than ever before. Like even if Joe Schmo, who reads 500 blog articles a month and watches 1,000 hours of YouTube, doesn't know what content marketing is, he'll still know what good content marketing looks like, whether he knows it or not. If you land on a page, it's blatant advertising, you're going to be like, this sucks, and you're going to bounce. But if you land on some useful content and then you just happen to walk away remembering that brand name, then, that content marketing succeeded without that person even knowing it.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty important perspective. Seek to be useful before you seek to be successful. I think success follows utility in this instance. But
absolutely.
So, all right, the question gets debated, kicked around a lot. I think people who are producing content are curious. They want to know. Long form or short form, which way should we go?
God. So I'm probably going to regret this answer. And it might make some people doubt my qualifications, but honestly, I think they're equally important. I know like right now in the last year, especially, there's been this huge push. Everyone's like, we need bigger content. Like it's turned into an arms race with word counts and everyone wants to just see how big of an article they can write. But I don't think that's always the best case. I think both long form and short form have their place. And I don't think they're interchangeable either. Sure. I think like long form, it can be a huge nightmare to create and you're going to pour a ton of time into it. Even the best writers are going to spend hours and hours on like an evergreen post or even just a long form like blog post. Right. But, it does accomplish different goals. That's how you wind up with something that has staying power. You write a long form piece on it.
But it's long because there's sufficient substance for it to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
We're not just trying to write inflated paragraphs for the sake of,
exactly.
however long it needs to be to adequately convey the value that you're trying to convey.
Yeah.
Probably is the right size,
Exactly. This isn't the dark ages of SEO like we were talking about where you want 50,000 words because you want 40,000 of those to be your target keyword. We've evolved past that. If it only takes you 500 quality words to say it, then you don't need to do a 20,000 word ebook on it. And on the other hand too, like short form content is perfect for covering that topical type of stuff. If you've got like a newsworthy thing to announce for your company or some kind of fly-by-night keyword that isn't going to be trending a month from now, there's no reason to kill yourself writing this huge piece on it because no one's going to be searching for it. So that's when you use that short form content to get those little small SEO wins. I think those are still really important in your SEO game. And like, unless you're Wall Street Journal or the Atlantic or New York Times, no one's going to be coming back to your little tiny news post months or years from now.
Right. Yeah. Have you ever heard of the concept of peak content? Have you heard anyone discussing this?
I don't think so.
So it's this sort of ethereal construct where people have postulated that so much content is being produced now that it's almost irrelevant, that you almost have to start content production with the idea of differentiation from the offset, because there's just such a huge volume. I've heard some, I mean, this is not, I don't know the exact fact, but I've heard it said that more content gets produced every day now than in the entire history of the world up to the 1800s or something like that, which probably is true. So why, in the midst of all that, it seems like a perfect storm of everybody producing, like, frankly, pretty half-ass content, if we're being honest.
Yeah, definitely.
Why do you think it is that so many brands and people fail to get backlinks?
Again, I mean, that's a lot of reasons for sure. I think a lot of brands, first off, I think it comes down to a lack of focus. Like you've mentioned before on our podcast, Can I Rank? We have first, better, different. And, if your content isn't checking one or multiple boxes there, you're already off to a bad start. I mean, like you said, there's so much content. And if you don't think about how you can be first or how you can be better enough or different enough, nobody's going to notice your content in the sea of garbage that's out there. I mean, people are exposed to just so much content every day and so much branding every day as well. I mean, there's that piece, they say like people see up to like 4,000 advertisements every day or different brands. So what's one more brand in that pile? If you're not doing something different or better enough to make them notice, I think that is the absolute biggest mistake that every brand makes when they're trying to get backlinks. They're thinking, how can I get backlinks? And then they see, oh, well, Joe Schmo's Kleenex shop is creating content. I have a Kleenex site. I should create content.
Right.
And it's like, no, I mean, everyone should definitely like think about content for sure. But if you don't have a plan in place, you're just going to end up wasting a ton of time. And, whether you're an agency or a freelancer or in-house, wasting time on content that lands flat, I mean, that's just money you're throwing out the window.
Absolutely. You brushed over the first, better, different thing. Can you dive into that? Because I think that might be really, really helpful for people. As far as I know, that's a proprietary thing that Can I Rank owns, that they do exclusively. But I think probably everybody can use that. Can you tell me how that works?
Yeah, definitely. So, when you're thinking about your content, whatever you're going to make, whatever kind of content you want to do, you need to look at your customer pain points or questions, whatever you feel needs to be addressed. And if and then you need to think about how can you address that? Is this a problem for a blog or a piece of evergreen content that keeps solving this problem for months and years to come? And then you need to think, is this the first time this problem's been solved? That's, the number one thing. If it's first, then you're golden. It doesn't have to be better or different because no one else has done it. So you've already got a head start, and that's awesome. So, that's looking for, those types of problems that no one else has seen. And honestly, I think there's always a problem that hasn't been solved yet. But if you can't find that, if you're trying to write on something everyone else is covering, you need to think about, can we do this better? Have we looked at the competition's guides on content marketing 101 or content marketing in 5 minutes or less? Are all these guides garbage? Do we have a unique angle? Can we improve on this? Do we have stats they don't have?
And then let the answers to those questions actually inform the approach that you take. Like if your article doesn't do one of those things, maybe don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe go find one that does, because how is it going to differentiate? How is it going to be helpful in the market space? How is it going to impact people or move them if it doesn't sort of fit into one of those clean channels?
Exactly. And I mean, and if it's not, if people aren't interested in it, then it's never going to rank anyways. And you just threw away 5 or 40 or 50 hours making this massive piece of content that's just more noise, and then there's the different angle too. You have to think, like, have they solved this problem, and have we found a different way to solve it, or a different way to phrase this that's maybe more effective?
Sure. So time and place utility of of the answer and how it's packaged and what all does it take to do it. Like, a lot of times you can solve the same problem, but in a more simplistic way, or with better data or granularity or clarity. All these things matter. So, all right. So check it out. I'm a small company. I've got 5 employees. how I rank organically is very important to me because I can't afford a great deal of paid advertising at this stage of my business. But seems like for almost everything, now I'm competing against Amazon and Walmart and Target, and all these people have basically unlimited budgets. So how can newcomers or smaller brands really earn backlinks in this competitive landscape, in this sort of modern SEO economy?
I mean, like, I'm glad you mentioned, like, it is incredibly competitive. I mean, everyone and their mom is making content, literally their mom in some cases. I mean, who doesn't have a blog? Who's not trying to push their Etsy page? Everyone's got an agenda. Everyone's got content out there.
I literally saw these two moms the other day on YouTube. Their show is called "I'm Mom So Hard." Yeah, I swear. Listen, side as an aside, you guys all need to go watch it. It's hilarious. But anyway, carry on. I'm sorry.
I see that having a different connotation if you use dad instead. Maybe not the best branding there. So, I mean, it is like, we're just saturated with content. The internet's saturated. People are just tired of reading tons of stuff. I know it sounds really doom and gloom, but, it's not. I mean, there's a ton of things brands can do. For starters, if you're doing your job right as a business owner or a marketing strategist, you should know your brand or your audience better than anyone else. I mean, even if you've been collecting minimal data, which is a huge mistake, but, collecting any data at all and just interacting with your customers, them better than anyone else. And so that sets you up perfectly to do a case study. I mean, do some basic keyword research, figure out like what kind of problems are these people having. And if that's not an option, if you can't afford keyword tools or anything, then just ask them on your blog or your social media, or, send out an email. You should have an email list at this point. It's 2018. So ask them what kind of problems they're having, and then look at your data and put together a case study. People love case studies, especially if it's saying something, first, something that no one else has said yet, just like the Can I Rank case study that came out, recently, and it showed Google's big bias towards those larger brands, favoring Amazon and Walmart and those big names. I mean, there's always something to be said that someone else hasn't said, and you've got the ability to do that with your customer data.
Can you tell me anything else about that study? That was interesting to me.
Yeah. Can I Rank's got all these kick-ass tools to analyze things, and using a ton of engineering wizardry that goes way over my head. They comb through a ton of data and basically came to the conclusion, that, like, yes, domain authority is important. So Amazon and Walmart are going to have more domain authority than we can ever dream of having. So, we know as SEO people that is, that's a big weight in terms as far as metrics go. But basically this, the study concluded that even when a site was delivering more relevant, more helpful, more useful content that was more relevant to the search, and even when they were using less intrusive ads, they didn't have like those intrusive pop-ups, they didn't have auto-playing videos, Google was still giving the humongous edge to the big guys, which sucks. It illustrates what an uphill battle it really is, which I think most new digital businesses know SEO is an uphill battle at this point. A byproduct of everyone knowing marketing a little better than they used to. But yeah, it definitely just kind of shined like a new, more realistic light on what a battle it is.
From a strategy perspective too, that's fascinating because, if you're going to start, especially a new physical goods business, like you're selling physical products, that's going to be on Amazon. So you almost have to start with differentiation. Even before you try to establish the brand, you almost have to begin with, how do I prove that I'm different or better? Why should it, the age-old value proposition question, right? Like, why should I buy your product rather than buying it from Amazon or not buying it at all? It has to become paramount in terms of the content that you're producing.
Exactly. And that's the same exact thing gets applied to content. Why should I read your content instead of this other guy who's, why should I read your blog on content marketing when I've got like HubSpot or Moz or someone who's been writing on it for years, So that's where you need that.
I think a lot of our smaller e-commerce people who follow us and who are perhaps in the market for, SEO agencies and services can learn a lot from that, because you have to answer that question. Why should I buy from you rather than Amazon? That has to be a really compelling articulation in order to get the most out of it. It might be that because all of our stuff is American made. It might be because, all of our stuff is handmade. It might be because whatever, but you've got to be able to articulate some kind of differentiation.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you do, I think that levels the playing field somewhat in terms of content production and syndication and getting links. And
yeah, for sure. And the case study also is a great way to show that like you're not just another brand, you know your stuff, because not any old person's going to put together a great case study. If you put together a kick-ass case study that really does say something new, people are going to respect your brand so much more. Thought leadership is so big and such a coveted title in this digital marketing age, and doing a case study is an awesome way to definitely start to establish that.
Right on. So I wrote a book like 4 or 5 years ago. Please don't go read it. It's called Facebook is a Pub Crawl. But when I wrote that book, I sort of predicted like the hummingbird algorithm. What I said specifically was, I think in a few years, the number of likes that you have will be more important than the keyword density of what's on your page, like the amount of social syndication. So that wasn't an exact prediction, but it was a theoretical sort of prediction of where content is going and how it matters. And I based all that off of the graph. Remember when they first launched the Facebook graph? I was like, you know what? Whether or not your friends enjoy eating at a particular Mexican restaurant is going to be more important than how keyword dense the Mexican restaurant's content is, and et cetera, et cetera. Like the reviews and the pictures that people are going to matter more. So I got lucky, basically.
You should be rich right now.
Yeah, I should be very rich. But that begs the question: what do you think is the future of content marketing? Where's it going to go?
That's a real crapshoot. That's it. No, I mean, I think, like you said, Google's doing a great job at kind of squelching like keyword stuffing and these garbage tactics that we all used to use back in our freelancing days, possibly. We've transcended that and kind of shifted from this like brand first mentality to a consumer first mentality. And, and like that Can I Rank study shows, the domain authority is bigger than we thought, and big brands get more, they get treated better by Google than we thought. And so I feel like the future for content marketing is especially going to change for the little guy, which would be most of your content out there. I think people are going to have to niche down even more. I think they're better than ever. They're going to have to know what their unique selling point is, like what makes us different from the 1,000 other people out there that make like organic hemp sweatshirts or something. You're going to have to really think about what makes your product different and your service different. And I think we might even see that influence their actual offerings. If you launch a business and realize, wow, I am not different from anyone at all other than my brand name. I think content marketing is kind of forcing people's hands to redefine their brands and offer something more unique and more awesome than before. I think that brands are really going to have to know who they are. And if who they are is boring or generic, then I think they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. And I think in the end, like the consumer is going to win big time from that.
I see a business for us in the near future at Can I Rank, just helping people dial in their offers and figuring out if they're approaching the market in the right way, because it's going to be so crucial. I think you hit a home run on that. So, all right, well, let's ask some questions. Maybe the audience has some questions for us. Love to not waste your talent. So, you guys, if you want to ask a question, now's the time. Sometimes it's about a minute behind. There's a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to go ahead and give you, a minute to just say whatever you want to say about content marketing or life. You can talk about the World Cup. Doesn't matter to me. You earned it, so go for it.
So first of all, I'm just super busy. I've got a toddler running around the house.
Oh,
not sure if you can see my war wounds.
Oh, wow. You with
incredibly active. So I've got my hands full there. But then I'm running a few websites as well. I'm just going to do a shameless plug for one of my sites I'm currently building up a lot. It's cubicleconfessional.com. It's a community-based site. You can go make an anonymous username and confess to like horrible stuff you've done or seen at work, vote on other users' submissions, just have fun basically. And then an observation I made last night while I was sitting here, actually, I've got 2 full cups at my desk, both full of pens, and I realized none of them work. So that's where my life's at.
I like it. All right, Allison has a question. I'm going to check out that site, by the way, because that sounds awesome. Allison wants to know, what is it like writing?
Did I lose you, Jonathan?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, man? We're having internet difficulties here. All right. Oh, man. Can you hear me, John? All right. Well, I guess that's all that you guys are going to get from my friend, Mr. Shieldsmith today. So sorry about the comments. If you guys will go ahead and drop your comments into the links or into the comments below, your questions into the comments below, we'll go ahead and try our best to answer them. I apologize for the internet difficulties. It's Florida, so it's going to monsoon in about 15 seconds. You know how it is. To any extent, I hope you guys are having a great day. Happy Friday. And we will follow up on questions. So super happy that you guys joined us, and we're looking forward to hearing your questions in the comments below. So thanks a lot, y'all. Everybody have a great day. Take care.